Hey, George, thanks for the sausage today.
You're welcome. Hey, those are great. Thanks. Good morning.
Almost, guys. I should have started setting up earlier, but I got sidetracked because everybody wants to be mean today. The spirit. Well, I'm live. I don't know who's watching, but I finally got it live, so we'll record this. We're going to run market updates, see how everybody's weekend was. Who worked this weekend? Anybody? I did. I was out there with everybody. Weekends are always crazy because you put stuff on Friday, right? And then you have to deal with 15 offers on Monday, and everybody wants a response, right? All right, today I wanted to run through comping properties. That's always the number one question for me, right? That's always the question. Can you help me comp a property? Can you help me comp a property? Don't you know how to comp a property? So here we are. We're going to comp properties. The best that we can, because with an ever-changing market, how do you say this is what your property value is, right? So you kind of have to gauge in this market. Let's go check out our market first and see. So you got to know what your market's doing before you can advise your client, right? So lately it's been conversations with hedge funds, right? What are they paying? 120% of the value of a property as long as it rents for 2% or two cap, 1 or 2 cap, and they really don't care. They're going on appreciation. So let's go to search. What's our market look like? All right, so I'm gonna look at active and coming soon. 2,942. That's a lot less than last week, wasn't it? Were we at 3,000? 22?
It was less.
Okay, so we got a little bit more.
Two more.
173 coming soon, active 2768. This is not a lot of inventory. In fact, I have to a 460 property. I'm writing a $500,000 offer on because he said that's nobody's over 500 yet. So I'm like, well, let's just go to 500. Isn't that crazy? Cash. That's what I'm doing after this. And it's probably paying like $500. Who knows? Okay, so this is always my start. How many properties are in escrow? It's next. 4,956. So it's not sustainable market, right? So seller's market, everybody down? Everybody agree? Seller's market? Seller can get whatever they want. Now what we want to look at is we want to comp a property. So does anybody have a property? I'm actually just gonna grab one from back here real quick. There you go.
You want to take the one that I told you about the Sienna?
Do you want me to? I usually just grab one from behind the
Okay,
office
so
here.
go to-
So I went to a listing appointment, or I'm going to a listing appointment, right? And this guy right here wants to sell his house. Click it, Cerrito Canyon. And so I need to see what his house is about first. So we open up the tax record. I like the realist tax record. And it should pop up new tabs every time you do it. So you can just keep that screen open. So this guy's got little small lot, little about 2,100 square foot of building. See if he has any photos from the last listing. So you can get a general idea of the interior and the exterior. Granted, you have to go see it because these pictures are from 2018. And if they change I always ask them if they've changed their kitchen, if they've done their bathroom or done some flooring or painting before I go. But I have a general idea. It's got some quartz tops, dark cabinets, right? Desert landscaping in the back, little patio, 2-car garage. So I'm gonna go back to my screen here. And this right here is the best toolbar you can have. 8703 Cerrito. You guys remember how it's spelled? Cerrito Canyon. There it is. Should pop up. So it's automatically going to give you that quarter mile, which is where you should start. If you don't have anything within the quarter mile, then go to half, and then you can go the full mile out if you need it. Okay. I always go based upon active, coming soon, what's under contract, and what is sold in the last 6 months to give me a parameter. We don't want to mess with price. You want to keep it as simple as possible, and you can weed out if there's too many. So what's the rule for appraisers for FHA, VA, or any HUD properties? It's 10%. Okay. So this is 2072. So you can go down to 1864. Talking about square footage, right? 10% range. And $2,279. So I'm just gonna go to 2,300 and see what's in there. In fact, I'm just gonna go 18. Somewhere in that range. Because it's your duty to help the appraiser out too, right? Like, yeah, this is a $1 million property. Like, haha, where'd you get that from? Let me show you. So square footage, we want to look in this quarter mile. Come on, computer. I don't think it pulled up the. And that's quarter mile, right? So let's do half a mile. Got 7 matches. It's probably a good amount. If I went a mile out, he's going to give me 45. So let's start with the half mile. That's 7 comps. You can look at it on the map. So your immediate ones are probably going to be the ones in the neighborhood. 460, 390. So let's see what's going on. My display is Corey default because I created this myself. Because what I like to look at, depending on who I'm working with, is of course my list price to sales price. It's a couple things I added in. It gives you your square footage, your bedrooms, your bath, actual close dates. Mine put it in this order so I can look from the top. This was my last close at 5/25, and then in January and so forth down. And then it puts my actives at the bottom. The other thing I like about my search and what I've added, because I work with investors and they like to know how long things are going to take to sell, and they like to talk about price per square foot. You get that more with investors. Well, they're thinking in their head, what's it going to cost me to build this or replace? So it gives me my list price per square foot and what my sales price per square foot is. So I like to have that on my columns when I'm at appointments or talking with clients. So with this in mind, we got 2 sales. I wonder if I can shrink this down. Can you guys still see that if I shrink it down a little bit?
Miss Bonnie, I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, because I'm leaving Wednesday.
You have a one story in there, but active,
One from the fourth.
so it's gonna be higher.
Yeah,
But
if
it's,
there's no other one stories. I'm looking at columns right now, and they've climbed from the 4. Let me see where these are all at. I'm trying not to pull in.
She said she's gonna go to Berkshire.
So the other side of the freeway. But real quick, when you can take out the condos, single family, and because it's a 2-story house, we just want to look at 2 stories, right? Back to results. So we went out a little bit further, and this is a 0.8 mile, so that should count. So you start selecting which ones you want to use. I think the 505 and the 510 are probably the more recent ones in March last week. So you want to add those in. This 485 is not too bad. And you still have this 525 right here, half mile away. Is everybody familiar with an appraisal? Everybody read one? So you have your 3 main comps and your main property on the front, and then you have your backup comps on the following page. So you want to come up with at least, 4 or 5 comps you can use, minimum. And you want to bring in your active. How come I don't have an active? So active and under contracts. This is interesting because it is 825, so you want to see if you need to alleviate that one or if it works. This looks like it's in Spanish Trails, right? So we might not want to use that one. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, so anything in there you probably don't want to use because that's a guard gate versus a regular subdivision here. You do want to pull in. Work this without a mouse, or a finger is different. So let's go ahead and add Bonita and South Bonita. Let's actually eliminate the 390 because it's probably outdated at this point. We got some 458s over here, 460. I'm trying to get highest and best dollar for my seller, so I'm bringing in these comps. And they're my more recent ones. So I got 6 marked that I want to use. And let's pull a pending. I always like to look at pending to see what happened with the statuses. Multiple offers received. And it looks like they took a cash within 2 days. So that you could probably guess that's going to be bid up in this market. We don't know what to, but with what we're looking at here, and these guys are in the 5s from 485 to 5. You're probably going to bet that it was probably generated up closer to that 500 range, right?
Are those comps based off the appraisal, or is it?
These are comps just from the sales.
Okay, so it includes anything like cash above appraised value.
Yeah. So if you, and now lenders can use that. So if you go to this cell, this was a conventional loan, right? At 505. So we don't know how it happened or what, but we know that there was a conventional loan attached to it and it sold for 505. So now a bank can look at that and say, yeah, we can make a loan on that. Somebody else made a loan on it, whether it was cash above or
So
what.
it's factored in.
It is now a sales comp. It is now a valid sales comp that you can use. So what I'm going to do here real quick is just shrink it down to the ones that we chose. Okay. So remember, I'm still comping this guy here, right? Because I want to list his house for sale. And I want to generate the best number for him. Now there is an AVM on this. Look how low it is though. With what I'm pulling versus what the automated value is pulling. He's looking on Zillow and he's thinking his house is only worth 430. Right now I'm coming to the table as the professional. And I'm saying, no, Mr. Seller, I can get you close to this $500,000 range, right? So there's a couple things we can do here. I just like this within itself. I'll put links together.
That one that's active has a pool. The one that's active.
Let me go back. Sorry, I'm working sideways here. Active is a pool. Yep.
Okay.
So that's your nearest competition, Mr. Seller,
Yeah.
is somebody with a pool. And he's asking 525. Right? But I've got sales here at 510 and 505. So I'm probably going to lean towards that when I pitch the sale. I try to keep things in comps so that they are not comps, it's in links because I don't like to print out pictures for them. You can tell them, you can go do the research yourself. This is similar to your house, right? Pretty similar. So they have the pictures and they go back and review them. 510, this is probably a lesser of a home, but superior in square footage, right? Because what is he at? 2037? Or this is property details. He's at 2072. So, and his is a new home or newer. This is 2000. This is, where's my cells here? 2015 versus the 2000 built.
It's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, same area though. So it's within the half mile. But if this guy can get 510, what can I get my guy? You know what I mean? So here you go. Here's your low, 485. This price sold pretty quick.
When did it close?
So the 485 was February 25th.
Oh.
That was
So I think
2016,
it's more.
2016, 2017. I'm looking at a 2018 property. And in an inclining market. So if I did a quick CMA with those selected, this is what it breaks down to, right? Pulls your under contract, your actives, and then what your solds were. Your second page is going to show you really briefly what your max list price is, what your average, and what your median is. And then you can start having those discussions like, what do you think I could sell it for with one property listed at 525 with a pool?
You'd want to be under it.
Slightly.
Yeah.
You don't have a pool there, but you do have a 2015 build. So your house is 13 years newer than this house without a pool. So there's some value to it. Okay. So what are we pushing this house to, guys? Professional opinions.
520.
George, Ellen,
I was gonna say
Mike?
520, 525.
Yeah, right down to 520.
and probably get it. Because what I want you to take into mind here is, what did the last 3 properties that closed end up dealing with? Multiple offers, right? Second one, multiple offers, bid up to 510. They all got loans on them, so we're good.
We might have to, conceive that the house with the pool is probably going to sell for 535
Or 550.
or 550.
So
So then yours can be,
aggressively, I would just come right out at 525, right? Just be aggressive. You'll deal with less offers, but more quality buyers at that point. If you listed this under our comp range, say you picked, we're going to do 490 because we had a 485 and a 450 pending, right? So you're going to go conservative on the value. Well, we know from experience, 1, 2, 3 have multiple offers, right? So if you price anywhere in these 3 realms, you're going to end up with multiple offers. So you almost want to weed it out. Now you want to prepare your seller for taking something at that 520 range, like you said. This is probably what we'll end up with if we have to deal with an appraisal issue or something to that effect. But why not shoot for the stars? Let's put a big co-op on it so that our buyer stays interested, or buyer agent stays interested. Let's pay me a big salary to stay interested in selling this thing. Is your net okay? And that goes back to having that conversation about your net sheet. Is this amount in your pocket okay when you do your net sheet? Any questions on, this was just one right behind it. There are, like you said, Ellen, some weird properties. Like you said, that 1.2, that sounded kind of weird, where it should be at an 800 range. But if they're selling a view,
Maybe 900.
yeah. But if they're selling a view, you can't really put a price tag on that. If you remember during the last boom, you couldn't put a price tag on a view. It was what a buyer was willing to pay to be on the ridges. It was Anthem. I remember it was Anthem, Sun City Anthem. If you had something on one of those ridges overlooking this, they would pay out the wazoo for it. Like, I'll give you an extra 500. I'll give you an extra 600 for that, just to have that view. And then during the recession, we couldn't put a value on the view. Like, well, I paid 500,000 for that view. It's like, well, now nobody really cares about your view, and it's not really worth $500,000 anymore. So those are the things that change. As far as Vegas, like this, a standard house, this is how I'd be comping a house in this market strategically. So you're dealing, instead of 10 offers, you're dealing with 5 offers, and they're of a quality nature. I see a lot of underpricing going on, which if you've walked into one of those houses, you'll see 20 cards laid out on the kitchen counter versus one that's priced appropriately. You'll probably see 7 cards on the table. Because your buyers, when people are showing their buyers, they're looking at a property based upon this AVM. So if you price this at 430, which is the AVM, and what Zillow, Redfin are automatically generating, you probably have 50 people show up to that property. But now we're pricing it $100,000 higher. Only people that know the area are going to be showing up to the table and realizing what the values are for it. All right. Any questions on comping? These are all simple. You can get really complicated into the CMA area if you want to do analyze, but I think the quick CMA, when you go into CMA, you can start adjusting upgrades in houses versus lot sizes, what appraisers start doing, which when we get back into that complicated market, we can do that. But right now with a rising market, we're just trying to find what were the last sales, what do we project the next month's sales going to, and are we pricing it adequately to compete with closing 60 to 90 days from now, probably 60 days from now, 45 to 60 days. What is it going to be at? And that comes down to what your market's doing, which is 2,942 active or coming soon properties versus 5,000 homes under contract. Crazy, right? That's like, yeah, a week and a half, right? Week and a half of inventory. So, and savvy buyers are prepared. I was hoping for the slowdown in March. We're starting to see the interest rates, but I don't think we're seeing the slowdown. I think there's a mad grasp for whatever we can get our hands on while we're below 5%, right? Because I think we're hovering at 4.5, 4.25 to 4.75 right now for interest rates.
Yeah.
So there's that mad dash. Fall time, I guess we should prepare ourselves to be at 5.25 type payments for conventional FHA loans. And then hopefully it's like mellows out at that point. But I think there's a mad dash between March and September right now. Like, the hot months, stay hydrated and try to keep your head on your shoulders. So that's what we're up against. New builders, anybody been out to new builders yet? They're, doing what they can, I guess, for what they've got to work with. Still 8 to 9 months on construction, I believe, for supply chain. Is it more? 12 months? 10 months? So,
And lotteries.
yeah.
On lots.
So it is what it is. Are they locking rates for 6 months though? I heard some builders are, no? They're just like, when we tell you it's time, then it's time. Yeah. So all those buyers that are buying new homes should be prepared to be at 5.25, 5.5%. I would think going into winter months.
Is growing from the time they start the house to the time they move in it.
Wonder, are they going to allow some of that equity to be used to buy down rates though? Has anybody asked that question to a builder yet?
No.
Like if you lock something up at 525 and 10 months later it's, selling for 550 or 575, can we use $20,000 to buy our rate down? I mean, that's a question I would ask the new builder. I haven't been out with new builders though, so mine have all the last 2 quarters have been 1031 exchanges, selling and purchasing. So, and cash. I just, the conversations I'm having are, well, I just got off the phone with them. This is where they're at. Do you want to pay that much for a house? Yes, write it out. Okay. I mean, that's as simple of a conversation it is. Like, but we like it, we'll buy it. So, okay.
Yeah.
Even though you want to say, honestly, like, this is dumb.
Don't get the sale.
When you talked about those adjustments in this market, from what, you are doing a formal CMA, adjusting for square footage and lot size.
Mhm.
and Those have increased now, so, based on, we learned how to do adjustments.
Yep.
What would you say, do we have like a cheat sheet of what we might be able to put together?
Cost for, take a look at your last appraisal. And those cost adjustments are probably a bit more accurate because they're swaying 5 to 8% up on your appraisal. So if we got this value at 520, right? And so they're going to go sway 5 to 8% up if it got bid up. So if say 520 got bid up to 530, they're going to say that's okay because that's the trend in the market
Mhm.
is a 5% upswing.
And I've noticed that appraisers are looking at even actives that are on the market.
Yeah.
They're
If it's a multiple offer, if
but
it's,
they're looking at the trend.
Mhm.
So,
and then if you look at this trend,
what they never did before.
let's see if I can go backwards here. Nope, I can't. Maybe I can go backwards here. So what's our trend on this one? If it was 460 in January, what's the difference on that? 10, 11%?
10%.
8%, right? 8 to 10%. Yeah. So if it's or that's 1 month, right? Or 3 months. This was a couple days, but if you're looking at 1900 to 2100, that would probably be my trend right here. Would be 460 to 505, which I would say is an 8% adjustment, which is in 2 months because that was middle of January.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even look at those comps
From January?
exactly the way they are because the prices were less than when they
Yes.
made an offer.
Well,
So-
you have your list price,
I
right?
think you're
And then you have your sales price.
525, yeah.
Yeah. And so your list price was, what's your list date? 4 days on the market? This one was 509 to 525 was 1 week on the market. 450 to 485, that's probably a good trend to look at
Mhm.
right here for 4 days on the market. And you generated $15,000 more. 485 to 510, 4 days on the market. I generated 7% above in 4 days. Same with this one, 2 days. Multiple offers. So if you go with that trend, list price to sales price ratio, it's ideal to have that conversation with the seller. Like this is what the increases are. So if we just price it at that, it would be less people to deal with. And you're still probably going to get 3 to 4% above what your list price is at 525. just because there's nothing for sale.
I mean, it looks like it's a nice community.
Yeah.
You know, nice area, good demand.
I was nervous because I just activated one for 1.45 today.
I saw.
And but with this trend still going the way it is, I'm not nervous. The last sale was 135. Literally the street over, same property. And I had to go find a comp 2 miles away at 155. So I priced it right in the middle. And I don't know. I'm not nervous I'm nervous because if it sells, then my timeline starts for the next purchases. But and this are the scary parts, because trying to find investments in this 500 range is very slim. Anything under 500 is moving radically fast. 4 days on the market, and yeah, so it's kind of nuts. And it's because the investors are buying $500,000 properties for rentals, which are renting for $2,200 to $2,500 a month. So that returns generally good if there's not too much cost. 4% returns. I want to say after taxes, 4 caps. So comping properties. That's what I wanted to go through. It is stored. Let me see if there's anybody asking questions on YouTube. Nope, but there's some people watching. So. All right. Any other questions? Now it's just open forum for El Broker. It's nuts, guys. It's nuts right now.
The sellers are asking for 4, 5, 6 months right back.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting it.
Because they're waiting for a house to be built, or yeah.
And negotiating to stand a chance with someone who doesn't have cash, to let them stay for nothing, you know, is an option. But others are doing the same thing.
Yeah. And then investors are just burying their money in real estate because it's safer. It's safer, the returns there, and you own something versus Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
I'm rich. I'm poor. I'm rich. I'm poor.
What about like for older homes that have been recently remodeled? Is there like a standard to look at?
No, there isn't. So, for instance, let's go to a older neighborhood. What's old to you, my young friend, Mike?
When was this house built? I was just looking at it. I think it was, I don't know, it might have been 70s, 80s.
Okay. Here's an old neighborhood. You know where Water Street is?
I think I've seen it. I'm in Providence, so it's way across the world. But yeah, I've been down that way.
Okay. So this home, my friend, was built in, what's my construction year, guys? 1953. Okay, that's an old home, right? So what's going on over here? Well, let's see what's going on in Water Street. Let's drop a circle. And let's see. Let's switch it to coming soon, under contracts, and sold. Same scenario though. Older homes, lots of, I probably don't need that many comps. Let's do a half mile. And what was the square footage on that one? 1,000 square feet. So let's do the same thing. Process doesn't change. We're going to go 900 square feet to 1,100 square feet. Because it was 1,000 square feet, right? And yeah, 1 available or 2 available, 2 under contract. Why is this guy $800,000? right? Why is he so expensive? Strip view from the front door, mixed use. So they changed the zoning on it.
Looked like it was on a busier street.
Yeah, so now it's mixed use, commercial versus a residential property. So that increased it to $777 a square foot for this little bitty house here. So we probably can't use that as a comp.
Right.
Okay. 300, 304, 300, these all look about the same. Here's a 199. Why is it 199? It's a townhouse. That makes sense. This is our 335. It should be a flip. Nice yard. Basic. You're talking about we're trying to find a rehab though in the same area, right?
Exactly.
That one doesn't work. That doesn't work. Let's see if we can go out further. Maybe this guy. Let's see what he's got. $339. So there's your rehab. He's active, available. 5 days on the market. What do you think is going to happen to this one?
What was it listed? 339?
339. $326 a square foot. Somewhere in prices. What's going to happen though? What's going to happen is that's going to sell like a hotcake because it's $339,000.
For cash.
Yeah, and it comps within that 300 range, or I'm sorry, the 300 sales price range, which is what we have two here. 1, 2, 3. We have 3 comps in the 300 range, and then he priced it how much above?
The next was 315. And then
315, and 315 is the comp, and then market trend.
5 to 8%.
I'd say 8 to 10%.
8 to 10.
On a rehab, you could probably go to that 10% mark, which is what he did here.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Good to know.
And he'll probably get it because he spent the money on the bathrooms and the kitchens.
Right.
So the trend is still 8 to 10. Okay. If it's a lesser property, then it's probably a 5 to 8. So an as is, needs new flooring, needs new paint, needs new kitchen, is probably a 5 to 8. This guy is an 8 to 10. And he'll probably get it, if not more, for the property.
Makes sense.
Sticking to what you were saying about being aggressive with the listing price and getting quality on it.
Yeah.
Just getting-
So if the house is plain Jane, 1990, still looks like 1990 with the white tiles and the oak colored burnt orange. What is this, burnt orange?
Cabinets.
You know what I'm talking about? The oak burnt orange and the white tile. You're still probably going to get 5 to 8% above what the last sale was.
Right.
If they were to rehab it, then you could probably talk that 8 to 10% above on that range.
Cool.
But yeah, it's an increasing range though. So you need to look at it. What's the trend? And does this fit the 5 to 8 mold or the 8 to 10 mold?
Right.
And then just price it there.
Okay.
That's the trends that I'm looking at currently. If any different, let me know. I don't know what this is. But same concept. Find your comps, find your contracts, and see where you're headed. Let's see what this guy. Like here's a 315 conventional loan. 5 days. Yeah. And that's Water Street, right? Like, I used to go to Water Street and like, oh, you should need to rip this whole thing down.
Really?
Like everything built before 1960 should just be ripped down and reconfigured. But it's everybody owns those properties privately, so you can't really do that unless you go in and pay the $335 per property, right? No matter what condition it is, then you own it and then you can redevelop. But that was my always thought of Water Street. Now it's kind of cool down there. They got bars and restaurants that aren't open late though. And the hockey rink keeps families spending money up and down that street down there. So, which is kind of cool. All right, let's erase that. That is all I have, unless you guys have any other questions for me. How to comp it in an increasing market. Fair, any suggestions, feel free to share them. Getting listings. I guess it's just figuring out where you're going to put somebody, right? That's always the question. Well, if I sell my house, where do I go? Let's talk about that. Where are you going to go? So I guess trying to find people that own properties that don't live in the property, right?
It's kind of where I'm at right
That's
now.
something that,
Is that what you're working on?
Yeah, I got a buddy who has a primary residence, and then he has this investment property that he was renting out. But now he's doing the renovation on it, something rather happened to it. So it's going through the rental right now, but I'm just trying to get an idea, once it
Find the
comes.
non-owner occupies. They probably want the cash.
He actually wants to sell his primary, I think, as well, and move into his mixed-use business and
Cool.
make like an apartment, so. But yeah.
There's some, right? Does he need the loft works are for sale, like $1.4 million. I think $1.4 million, $1.5 million. They were $1.2 million. I think they're about $1.4 million, $1.5 million right now. You can get a, open warehouse for studio down and an apartment upstairs.
Yeah. He has a current business, so he's just gonna construct something up on top of it.
They have those in Henderson too,
Do they?
by the Galleria Mall. The same type of
What's the one right here you said?
loft works.
Loftworks?
Yeah, it's on what's after Buffalo? Buffalo,
The Rainbow?
between
okay,
between Buffalo and Rainbow. Torrey
Pines.
Pines? There's Torrey Pines and Sunset. I think it's Torrey Pines, yeah. Torrey Pines is right between.
is there a way to email us to search for specific states at ownership year and days?
So you can do like non-owner occupied. So if you went into Remine,
I say it's on Tenaya.
or Tenaya, that's the street, sorry. Because Torrey Pines is past Rainbow. So Tenaya is in between, yeah. So if you wanted to do, and we're just going to go back to, why they do road map. I don't know why they just don't automatically default to SetLine. I'm sure there's a setting that I can change, but like this behind here. And I want to absentee owner. So I want to do in-state and out-of-state absentee owners. There, it labeled them out to 13 right behind here versus owner occupants. Actually, I should probably put in corporate too. So if you did all and you applied, how many homes are back there? 109. But if you went to this absentee and you just did, give me the corporate owners and the absentee ones. Okay, so corporate kind of changes a little bit.
I know that on Mojo, you can do that.
Yeah, and they all pull from Remind. So we have like Remind Pro, which gives us this capability because that's what you guys pay for at Galbar. So you see how simple that was though? It's all in these drop down menus what you want to change out.
That's when you do it by neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah.
But can't you do it by state? Like Texas, Louisiana.
Oh, going a little bit further, huh?
Yeah. More of a target market.
Out of state, I guess. So how many out of states are there? 5. So these, you just look up their address, I guess. This guy gives you their last agent and Cerritos, California. I guess if you just do out of state, it'll pop up. Depends on what you're talking about, like doing a massive Texas owner, Texas address.
Maybe title companies would have.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should be able to do that in here too. Like, we have to turn this, let's clear this polygon off. Absentee out of state. And then I think we can add in a filter of you can do ownership time. I would say probably title. You should be able to do it in here. I just don't know how to. I just have absentee owner. I don't see one. If you play around with it, I'm sure you'll find it. But like this one,
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the best options to target.
yeah.
People who live in other states that don't realize maybe.
Yeah, and like for you guys, I mean, ideally, you don't want to work too far from the office, so just do this little southwest corridor here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
8,000 homes you can market to. You can even narrow it down to 1,000, whatever. And if you change the ownership time, hey, if you owned it for 5 to 10 years, let's apply it, see what it shrinks it down to. 2,000. That's a 5 to 10 year ownership. That's usually when people sell, right? 5 to 7 years. So you can start marketing at that point.
That means they bought it for 200 and it's
Mhm.
worth 600.
And you can weed out the ones that are listed. But it gives you the ownership time, which is nice. Like this guy bought it for $249. What do you think that property is worth? 500, you know?
Do a quick CMA on them and let them know.
And it gives you their information. Like, let's go back to that one story. Here's the dude's house. Here's his. It'll automatically create a CMA right out of this thing too. And a transaction. If he says, yeah, it's listed and sell it, you just create a transaction. Look, Ellen was the listing agent.
I was.
You can ask her about it right now. Hey, can we contact this guy and see if he wants to sell for 500,000? Oh wait, no, you're the listing agent. You don't know the
I
buyer.
wasn't. I didn't.
So you need to step in on Nancy before she contacts him and get that listing. Isn't that amazing how much information we have?
Yeah.
Ellen can tell you all about the house. She sold it. Here's his information. It's a Sun City house, right?
No, Sienna.
Sienna, sorry, Sun Colony. Yeah. Where's the dude's information? Here's all your values. On it, First American Black Knight, Redfin, Zestimates. You can see what they're looking at when they see a Zestimate with that 5% range. Remind's the best. We just gotta get used to using it. Owned for 7 years by Lori Brum and Dean Brum. They got a lot of equity. And
So Remind is replacing,
our information parameters. So CoreLogic, Realist is what we use now. When I pulled Realist and pulled the details for you,
Right.
Remind takes it one step closer to where you can just start the transaction right out of Remind. So if you start doing your searches in Remind, I'm still getting used to it.
Right.
But Remind should be where you start your information search.
okay, that's what I'm kind of trying to get my
Yeah.
head wrapped around, like, that should be my primary.
Because I don't know how fast their CMA will do. Because I like looking at the actual sales. But you can come in here and start doing your comparable sales. So what's the size of this house, Ellen? You sold it. 20.
1370 square.
So let's do 1,100 to 1,500. And sold time frame, let's see. Yeah, see, no results in there. So we gotta go back and adjust it. There we go. Half mile. Apply. Now it's got some comps. There you go. 500, that was a pretty good guess. 525. 510. So send him a mailer, right? They've been there 7 years. They probably like it in there though. They probably play golf and
They go back and forth.
yeah. So, but good point, George. Absentee owners. This is an absentee owner. So if you need listings,
Yeah.
you pull it all right there. All right, that is all I have time for because now I gotta go put out all my fires. I think most of them. I was still streaming. In stream. No questions.